Hello. I'm doing the ferry scene right now, getting the box cars in the lower level. Let's see if it all goes smoothly. My locomotives are running real nice and slow right now, so that's good. They're not acting up, so that's good. I can run this real slow. I'm on speed step 1, backing up right here, and just kind of creep in. The only thing I wish you could get rid of is that little bouncy kind of thing. I don't know if it's a couplers or what, but I think it's coming from some of the micro train cars that I have. In fact, I see it happening right now. It's the NS covered hopper that's about to come into the camera. That's the one that's being all weird. I have a lot of play in them. Finish pushing that box car in, and then I can go to the upper level. Theoretically, I could lift the apron with the cars on the apron, but I'm gonna try to do it with the cars off. This way, it's more realistic. I don't think they would be lifting that apron with cars on it in the real world. I added this gate for safety. I might motorize that eventually. Put a little servo on it or something to bring it up and down. But now that all the cars are off the apron, I just back out a little bit. You'll be able to see the apron go up to the second level of the ferry. And I do that with a DPDT, a double pull, double throw switch that I have hooked up to a small motor. So there it comes. Let's see if I can get that. The nice thing is that I can fine tune it because the motor is slow motion, so so for example, right now it's a little low, so I'm just gonna adjust it. There you go. And now that we're ready with the apron rather, we can start loading the hoppers on top because we do have a grain train waiting in the upper level to pick all these hoppers up. So let me lift the gate and start loading. I'm gonna do the middle first because I don't want all the weight to be on one side of the ship. So all these cars are going to be going to the upper level through the ferry. So upper level's not done yet, but you can see where it's going. And there is a grain train that's waiting. Right up here. And that train's going to pick up the cars that are going to be loaded onto the ferry right now. So let me just get back on the ferry here. Hopefully that's focused enough. And like I said, I'm going to load the center first. So speed step 1, just to get it going. Hopefully I can get all the cars up with just 2 locomotives. I have 2 Intermountain SD40-2s at the front of this train, pushing back. They have a lot of power, these little guys. I tried doing it with some older Atlas engines and they were slipping, but these 2 are very powerful. I think 2 should do it, and it's a pretty long line of cars, and some of them have weight. Some of these cars are pretty heavy, so let's see what happens. So far, so good, but sometimes if there's a lot of weight, they want to push back. But it looks like they're going to make it. The ship was made out of wood, and originally this lower part was going to be just a barge, and then I decided to go with the 2 levels because I wanted to be able to get a whole train the second level without having to keep going up and down. So it came out nice, and I like the fact that now I have the added feature for operations to bring the apron up and down. Also, I have smoke makers in each one of these scratch-built stacks. So once I hook up the power from underneath, the smoke actually comes out of both stacks, which is cool. So as the hoppers make it onto the ferry, it looks like things are going pretty smooth on the other side. I like it going nice and slow like this. I think that's going to be the last car that I push in. So let me cut it right there. Take the slack out of the cars in speed step 1. I recently built the powerhouse for, this is where all the engines, I guess, are for the apron to bring it up and down. These are the counterweights that are in here. I was trying to get them to work to go up and down, but those really, really hard to do. So I don't know, maybe in the future I'll try to do something there. Obviously I got to finish the stairwell, otherwise whoever's going from there to the ground is going to get hurt real bad. So, but it's coming along nicely. And it's all scratch built. So once this hopper clears the turnout on the apron, I'll switch it over so that I'm going to put it on the track right here. So it actually has to make it back quite a bit to clear that second turnout. So I can get onto this. This is basically 4 tracks. So there's one turnout for these two, and the other turnouts for these two. But there's a turnout before all this that obviously splits the 2 main tracks right here. So I'm gonna see if I can speed this up a little bit now that we're off the ramp. I can probably fit about 25, 30 if they're smaller cars, but this size, I think about 25. So that's nice. You know, I designed it so that I can get about 25 to 30 cars up here. Since I don't have room for a helix, so this was the only option I had to save space and still get it to work. And I've posted some videos about you know, how I built this and the mechanics and how everything works. So you can check it out on my YouTube video on Rhythm Railroad. You'll see a bunch of videos on this whole scene. All right, so I'm clear. I'm going to switch the turnout. And make my way back on the other side of the apron. And it's already set for the middle track. So they're going to end up right next to the ones that are already here. It was tricky building the scene because I needed to be able to get it all the way back there to the track so I can, you know, just do all the ballasting and painting and soldering and everything. So the water scene that you see here, even though it looks like a full water scene, actually comes apart. So from here forward, it all comes out. This way I can get my body closer to that corner and I can, you know, clean the track or whatever I need to do for maintenance back there. And obviously I got to finish the scenery. I'm going to hopefully have like some kind of photo backdrop to make it look like it's much deeper than what you see now. So here comes the other set of cars. Looks like it's pretty smooth right now. And the track should be lined up. Yep. You know, I was worried about the length of this apron because if it was any shorter, it would have been a lot steeper for the cars to make their way up. So somehow I got it just right so that it doesn't uncouple over here as it, you know, flattens out again, and it doesn't uncouple down there or get stuck. So I got lucky with that because honestly I didn't measure anything. There was no science behind it. Uh-oh. I think we have a problem. We got one car derailed. Yeah, that's new. Okay, that hasn't happened before. All right, I'm not sure why that happened, but I guess it's going to happen here and there. So let's see if we can finish this off here. Yeah. I think it might be just too much weight. Oh no, there it goes. Sometimes these pins, which by the way, I've been trying to take all these pins out, all these coupling pins. Sometimes they get, if they're too low, they get caught, you know, right in there. So I've been taking most of them out, so I guess maybe that's what happened here. I got caught there. Or maybe this guy got caught. It could be either one. All right, so I'm gonna uncouple here because I'm out of room. Let's see if we can get those last 2 hoppers right next door, right here. And then I'm going to have to deliver these tank cars over to these 2 tracks to be loaded. This is supposed to be like crude oil that's coming from the tanker ship being stored here temporarily and going into the tank cars that are parked here. And then the um, long-term tanks are going to be over on this side. I've been working on this scene a little bit, so it's going to have the 3 long-term tanks here that are also connected to, a facility where, these rigs can pick up and load up their cars, their trucks as well. So let me go back to where I was. I'm almost done clearing here. Once I clear this turnout, I should be good to get those last 2 hoppers up. And let's see if it gets stuck again. I'm curious now to see if that pin is the culprit. All right, so we're clear. Let's switch it out. And here we go. Let's see what happens now. See, as you can see, this pin is out. I took that one out, and I took that one out, but not the one for this car. This one still has it, so let's see what happens. That second car was the one that derailed before, so let's see. And it was the back, it wasn't the front that derailed, so. It looks like that time it was fine, so I might have just been just a little thing that got stuck there. All right, so hopefully these tanks won't get stuck. So far it looks pretty smooth. No, I don't have the magnetic thing. It's just I think for N scale it's just it takes too much room under the track to get it, because you gotta kind of put it in between the tracks and make sure that the magnet's all in there. And so I was thinking about it, but I didn't bother with it. The only thing I do have is these knuckle couplers over here that I basically took off cars, which I use just kind of like as a safety thing, so that when the ship is traveling, they don't go anywhere. But honestly, the ship is so stable that I really don't have anything to worry about. So now that these guys are on board, we can exit, have the locomotive pull the tanks off the car, and then the ferry can be on its way while the locomotive delivers the tank cars to these 2 tracks here. So as they make their way out, again, I love the speed. It's just nice and slow. These are the locomotives that I've been using. They're actually not mine. They're my friends, but they're running so nice. Yeah, I mean, the idea is that when I do the operation session, that would be part of the situation, that you would have to be cautious of the ferry and then balancing it as you load the cars in, weight distribution. So yeah, I would add that, I guess. But I'm so new at this. This is only like my first year, or a little bit over a year that I'm dealing with operations. I had no idea what operations were before I started this layout. So the layout is going to be 2 years old in March. So I've done quite a bit in the 2 years that I've been kind of going. But I did it on purpose because I have limited time in this room. So I want to make sure that I do as much as possible so I can enjoy actually running trains instead of just building. But I have about, I don't know, 4 or 5, 6 years up here before I have to break this down. All right, so now the tanks are clear. I'm going to bring the gate down. I might even get a bell for that. It might be cool to have a little bell go off when the gate opens and closes. And while the tanks make their way out, I'm going to concentrate here on the ferry that's getting ready to depart. So let me just tell you a little bit about this ferry and how it works. I got this idea from 2 videos that I watched on YouTube when I was first designing this whole system here. And one of the videos that I watched had a system where like the whole scene was cut out and the entire scene lifted up to the next level. And once it got up there, you would do whatever you needed to do, and then the whole scene would come back down once you were done, which I thought was brilliant. But I wasn't quite happy with the fact that when you bring the scene up, you kind of wreck the scene that's down here while you're working up there. So if there is an operation session going on, you're interrupting a lot. So then I saw a second video, and in that video, the gentleman that had it set up had it so that you literally took, once you loaded the ship, you picked it up with your hands and you put it onto the next level, and that's how he got, the cars up and down. And I like that also. I thought that was more practical. But this concept that I came up with was a combination of both. So I did want the ship to come up automatically without me having to literally pick it up with my hands. But I didn't want to wreck the scene while I was working, either on the top or on the bottom. So here's what I did. Let me just stop the train so I can concentrate on this. Okay. So what I did is I added something called a linear actuator, which is located below this level, and I'll show it to you later. But the linear actuator has a pin that pushes up, and I built a little platform that's actually under the ship right now, and you'll get to see it in just a minute. But the idea is that I can, with that actuator, I can push the ship up, and then I can push it through the scene. So this scene up here is exactly the size of the scene where the ship is now, meaning this wedge right here is the same thing on top. It's just not done. I don't have the water and all that stuff yet. So my concept is that the ship's going to go through the scene rather than around or including the entire platform. So what I do up here, let me see if I can just get the camera up there, is that I take the water basically comes out in a piece. So here's the water, this section here, and it's basically just the benchwork that I cut out, and it comes right out. So once I do that, let's see if I can show you guys what's going on here. There are these pegs where the hole is, and these pegs basically come out by sliding them like that. I do want to make this a little bit more like, I don't know if I'll put like a crank system or something there too, so I don't have to like push them out by hand. But so now once I do that, as you can see, the hole is totally clear, and the ship is going to come up through that hole and clear it. Now when I was coming up with this and building it, I was having a little bit of a panic attack because I basically did all of this by feel and by eyeball. I wasn't using any calculations or anything like that, and so it was a little scary, but I'm surprised it worked. Like everything actually works. So let me just show you how that goes into action. I'm just going to pull the ship away from the apron a tiny bit because sometimes it clips on the bottom. but I'm talking like a millimeter. So I'm gonna back out here a little bit. Let me see. Yep. Okay. And then once I hit the double pull, double throw switch, it sets off the actuator, as so. So as you can see, what's happening here is that the little platform is hidden under the ship so that you can't see it when the ship is sitting there. And the actuator is that pin in the middle, this thing, that's pushing all of this up. These things are rails, and the rails are the same ones that you would find in like heavy duty drawers to guide the drawers through. So as you can see, it's going right through without any problems at all. And there it is. Now what I did, let me just bring the camera back up again. What I did up here is that I made the actuator, well, I bought the actuator longer than what I needed on purpose, because I wanted to be able to get my hands in here so I can pull those pins back in. So the ship is actually higher than it needs to be. So now what I do is I just basically reset these pegs back to where they were before. And now the only issue that I found out later on was that since I had cut this out, I was, the height of that piece of wood was actually making everything lower. And because I designed this apron exactly like the one at the bottom, the height was off. So what it was a very simple fix. All I had to do was take the same exact part of the top piece and just cut these little pegs out and just slip them in. So now I get the height of the ship to be the same. And now once I drop the ship by going in the opposite direction, what happens is it settles. So now it's basically hovering there. And now the scene that was once interrupted is now going to come back to its original state. Because now what I did was I added the same water that's down here. I added a piece on the top that it virtually disappears once it hits the bottom. And it's actually better if you look at it from down here. You'll see it just kind of disappears once it hits the bottom. See, so you can barely tell it's there. I actually have to reglue a little bit of this because it's lifting a little tiny bit, but it's if you're really looking at it, you can see it, but especially when you go at a lower angle like that, now you really can't see it, but it's there. Voila! See, it's gone. So I thought that was kind of cool. So now, if you're doing operations, this scene is back to normal. So anybody running trains down here can basically have their scene the way they want it, and not have all these pipes and tubes and screws and things under there interrupting. So now that I'm up here, the system up here is the same thing. Thank you. I don't know. I mean, I thought people were doing this, but apparently not. I think I might be the first one to do this. And actually, I got the idea from this guy that was building a spice rack that would come out of his countertop and then disappear back into his countertop so he can have the space to cook and stuff. But the spice rack was actually in the countertop. And that's where I got the idea from originally. Just figured I'd push a ferry up instead of spice racks. So anyway, so this apron here is exactly the same thing as the bottom one, minus the decorations like the side plates and all that stuff. I still have to finish all that up. But as you can see, the track lines up perfectly with the ferry tracks. So theoretically, I should be able to pull those cars out just like I did when I put them in at the lower level. So now I'm going to see if I can select the locomotives on this train. I'd love to. I don't know. I mean, like I said, I'm still very new at this, so I haven't even this. I've been doing so much with the actual layout that I haven't even thought about doing articles and all that. But thank you, I appreciate it. So now I got my CSX and NS locomotives waiting here. Let me just select them. So I have 8715, and I'm using Y throttle along with the Digitrax, router to do all this wirelessly. So what's the other? The NS is 4814. So let me get that in. And it is in reverse mode. So I'm going to add it and put it in reverse. Let's see if that works. Sometimes the Y throttle, even when you put it in reverse mode, it still wants to go the regular way. So sometimes I have to flip it around as it's running. But let's see if it works right now. These locomotives are not as smooth. Like the decoders are in here are, I want to say Lens or Digitrax. They're not ESU decoders. The Loc sounds are the ones that I've been using on the other locomotives, and they're awesome. So let me see if they can push that train back a little bit. There it goes. So my upper level is pretty basic. It's just a loop. So I just make sure that my turnout is lined up. But yeah, it's the upper level is basic, and I'll do another live video on my upper level as well once I get past the other stuff. So I gotta switch this turnout here. What I was gonna say before was that I need what's called a handle to get these cars off, meaning there has to be some cars beyond the locomotives. I can't drive the locomotives all the way up to the ship because, number one, I guess if that was a real life situation, I'd probably collapse the apron. I don't know, maybe not, but one of my friends that's heavily involved with trains and stuff, he said that what they do is they create a handle. So it's a few cars that stretch out just to grab onto the cars that are on the boat. So let me just back this up. We should be lined up to pick up the first set of cars, which is the last set of cars that I put in. So let's see if I can make that work. These tracks are a little bit dirty, so I might get a little bit of a stutter here and there. I hope not, but I haven't cleaned them at all. So here comes the pickup. Oh. And I have a short circuit. And I know why. Okay, so give me 1 second. The reason I have a short circuit is because I forgot to cut gaps in those turnouts like an idiot. So I've been testing this out with a longer handle, and that's why it's been working. But now I just realized that I'm actually on the track itself. So I'm gonna do this manually with my hand. This way I don't have to add cars. So basically what would happen now is I would take this, the locomotives would push back, and they would latch on and pull the first set of cars off. Now, here, I don't know if you can see that, but it's the aprons are actually a little too low. So I'm going to bring it up a little bit more. There it goes. And hopefully that'll be a little smoother. And now that I have these two cars, maybe I won't need to do it manually. Yeah, I've been messing around with the alignment a little bit, and it's still a little low. So I'll work on it. I'll get it figured out. Let's see if I can. push this up a little bit. Yeah, the lower level has been super solid, but the upper level I'm still working on. Okay, that's too high now. And I think I know what's happening. It's just binding a little bit because I never pushed the ship back. So there it goes. Bring it down a little more. That should do it. Okay. So, continuing on, I'm going to use the locomotives actually to pull the cars off now. Yeah, the thing with these locomotives is that I have to crank the speed up and then suddenly it lets go and it's like a jerky. Well, that was actually pretty smooth, but normally I get like a little jerky motion first. And I did clean them out recently, so maybe that's why they're working a little better. But again, there's that springiness that I'm trying to get rid of. And I know that's a coupler situation that I have to switch out or somehow, alter. All right, so now I need to switch that up, and I can grab onto the next set of cars. I don't have sound on these locomotives, so I'm not going to blow the horn. But here we go. Let's see if we can avoid getting the locomotives on that turnout. So let's see if I can latch on. I think I got it. Yeah, these locomotives are definitely not as smooth as my Intermountain. There it goes. So yeah, I was able to clear. The turnouts. The article is going to take a little while to write if I do write one. I'm a little bit maxed out with my time, and the free time that I do have, I try to spend here. So I don't know about the article right now, but maybe soon, maybe over the summer. So now, the same situation, I have to clear that turnout, which is actually the second turnout past the two that are here, so that I can get on that side of the apron. I'm going to try to speed this up a little bit. And the grain elevator facility is in the upper level, so that's why I kind of designed this way. So I would have to bring all the grain cars up to get switched out. It should be lined up for that. This is my last pickup. So let's back this up. Again, I'm going to try to go a little faster, so we can get this going. And then I'm just going to go back down to the lower level after I do this, and bring the ship back down. Even though I still have the boxcars in the lower level, I'm going to leave them there for the next train that comes through. So let's see if I can latch onto that, and good. We're off. So now, after I do this, we should be clear to bring the ship back down. And like I said, I still have the other train waiting, just because I don't have an engineer right now because he's too busy unloading this ferry right now. But once I'm done, I'll do it. And it looks like I'm clear. Here's the train, and there's the grain elevator, but it's actually going to be on the other side, so that's going to have backdrop, so you won't see it. And the idea that it's that I have is that it's got to run all the way around, the entire scene. This is like a countryside scene, so it's got to go around, and then it'll get to the grain elevator on the other side. So that's that. All right, so I'm going to just switch hats here and see if I can get everything else in place for that ship to come back down. Sorry about my camera; it's a little wobbly because I actually have it on a tripod, but the tripod it starts out tight and then it loosens up on its own, so there's something wrong with it. So now what I do is basically the same thing I did before. I'm going to just kind of separate the ship a little bit, just so I have a little bit of clearance right there. And then I'm going to bring the actuator up from the lower level. And you're going to see that once it makes contact, it doesn't like shove it or like bump it out of the alignment or anything like that. It just simply just lifts it. I don't have to worry about the speed. The speed's actually really good. So you'll see once it makes contact right around now, it just kind of picks it up. And the cool thing is that it actually leans the ship this way a little bit. I don't know why that happened. It was just luck. But the good thing is that it pushes the cars in the correct direction, because if it leaned this way, all the cars would be going off the front. So as you can see, the box cars are in there, and they're safe there. They haven't moved. The other thing that I haven't spoken about is that this entire level is built on a hinge, so I can pop it off. Like, let's say I have some trouble in the lower deck and I need to get access to it. That whole thing just basically pops up this way. It's got hinges on the other side. So I'll show you once we get to the bottom. So now I would remove the pins here for the height, and then just take the pegs and get them out of the way again. It's a simple concept, but at the same time, like I said, I don't know that anybody's doing this. So, okay. So now let's bring the ship down. The nice thing about this actuator is that once it gets down to the bottom level and to the point where the water meets the other water, it stops automatically, so I don't have to worry about turning it off. It just, right there, it'll just stop right here. See, it just stopped. So I do have, the switches they're on, then the middle is off, and then up is on for to switch directions. But so right now, see how it's pushed down, that's on to lower it. But if I just put it on neutral, it cuts the power completely. So I like to keep it on neutral just to be sure that there's no power going to the motor, and so I don't have any problems. So there it is. So now, again, this scene is back to normal, just like it was, and it was only briefly interrupted. And the one up there is easily fixed by, once again, pulling the pegs back in. And then taking the water, which is basically what I showed you before, and sliding it right back in. And now both scenes are complete once again. And it only took, a few minutes. So let's go back here real quick, and then this will be the last thing I do on this video. So I have my tankers waiting to be dropped off right there. I'm going to just go forward a little bit further because I'm not clear of the turnout for that. And this particular turnout that I'm about to take, I haven't set up yet as far as a controller. So unfortunately, I popped the spring off thinking I was going to use it without a spring, and now I'm kind of regretting that. And by the way, if anybody knows how to pop a Pico spring back in, please let me know, because it's like impossible. It's like they're so well put in there that when you take them out, it's like so hard to get them back in, especially while the turnout's already installed. I've tried everything, and they just keep bouncing out and either poking me in the eye, or I keep losing them. They're so tiny. So what I've been doing is basically just putting my skewer in there to hold it in place. This way I don't derail the cars. So basically just doing that for now. I know it's not the nicest thing. I want to switch this because I'm going to drop off in the inner track first. So here we go. And again, I haven't really cleaned these tracks that well yet, but I don't think it really matters, because the locomotives are not really going to be on there. Since I have the one covered hopper, which it's supposed to be like a hopper full of sand for protection from the tanks in case something happens and they explode. I think that's the thing that they do in real railroads. That they put some kind of protective car in between the locomotives and the tanks. That's like a buffer in case something happens. So as you can see, the cars are being delivered here. This oil tanker was from N-Scale Ships buffer car. Yeah, that's what I thought. And I love the kit. The guy that's making these ships is just an artist. He's really good, and he's very, very hands-on. And when you need help, he's right there. It's N-Scale Ships. The only thing I was not too happy about was that it sat kind of low, because I thought the hull was going to be deeper. So it's normally ships don't sit that low. They usually sit a little bit above the dock, but whatever. I mean, I think it's beautiful anyway. And he basically sold me the tower, or the structure here, and then the hull with everything that you see around it, and all of this I scratch built from styrene piping and things like that. And also what I did is all these turns and things are from an HO kit, just like a refinery piping HO kit. But the pipes are long enough that they look like, for tanker ships like this. And there's a ship called I think it's called Freedom, that looks pretty close to this. That's what I was using to kind of design this. And these are the access points for the, for the oil, so you can unload and load from either side. These I built myself. These basically these cranes that have the pipes attached to them. And the idea is that this one's neutral. I built it so that it's just sitting there, and this one's being used, so it's pulled forward. It's got the counterweight. Again, I took a picture of one of these things, and it looks pretty close to that. I'm pretty happy with how they came out, and like I said, there's a little scratch built. The base of this thing is actually, it's used for tying wires, like inside a computer. When you build a computer, there are like little sticky things that you put on there. Yeah, I have one here actually. These things, and you run the zip tie through them, and then you put the wires here, and then it holds them in place. You stick them from the back. But I thought they looked like really good platforms. Once you paint them, they look great, as you can see there. Oops, I'm coming out of focus here. So yeah, so I used that, and then everything is just little pipes and I-beams and things like that. I kind of designed to make it look like that. Anyways, going back to the train. So I just delivered those. Then I'm just going to deliver the next few. Let me just uncouple by hand here because I don't have another skewer. And I'm going to just do that last one, and then I'm done. Obviously, I have some wood chip hoppers back there waiting. They're going to go to the lumberyard, the lumber facility, which will be another video. But for now, I'm just going to drop these off and then hook the train back up to those cars with the caboose, and we'll be done. Yeah. And then, I have sound on these locomotives. But it gets to be so loud, and I haven't had time to reprogram them to lower the volume yet, so I just don't bother with that. I still use the horn and the bell and all that stuff, but for now, this way I can speak and I don't have to be fighting with the sound of the engines. Normally I would have a coal train running around while all this is going on, which is what I like to do because since I'm by myself so much, I kind of try to dodge the coal train as I'm doing all these operations, and it's it's easy to do that way. So I'm going to once again do this by hand because I don't feel like taking the skewer out. So that would be the last delivery, and I'm going to be on my way. Just that these tracks are really dirty still, so the engine just stalled there. So let's see if we can get the other engine to kind of pull it forward. There it goes. All right, so there's the buffer car, as somebody pointed out. Thank you for that, by the way. I can't see the comments right now, but let's see. Matthew Jones, thank you for that. So we're going to take the locomotives and that buffer car and attach to the wood chip cars, And listen, this is my own made-up world here, so I'm not going by any particular railroad or anything like that. I like NS and I like CSX and whatever else, Conrail and stuff like that. But I'm not going crazy trying to get exactly what these railroads are doing. I just try to kind of hint at it. For example, like the caboose situation. I know that cabooses weren't used, in later periods, but I like using them, so I'm just going to do it. This is still supposed to be fun at the end of the day, so it's fun for me. But what I do like is slow speeds. I'm trying to do um, at least every other day with the live stream. Oops, I got distracted. Let me just get this turned out. Yeah, so I'm trying to do a live stream every other day until, I get through every section of the layout. Hey, Randy. You missed a lot of fun stuff here. So hopefully you'll watch the rest of the video. And so, I'll try to go for Wednesday. Tomorrow, obviously, I can't do it tomorrow. So I'm going for Wednesday, and the rest of the week I'm going to be pretty busy. I might do a Thursday. Definitely not Friday, but I usually go kind of on the later part of the night here in New York. So like 9 or 10, around there. And so here we go. I'm going to latch on. I think my next video is going to be on my lumber facility. There's a latched. All right. And hook up the air, and I'll be on my way. So I guess I'll just while I wrap this up, I'll take you around. We'll just follow this engine around a little bit. Let's see if I can do it. So that's the coal train I've been telling you about that I usually run. It's a very long one, so right now most of it is in the tunnel. But this side of the layout, which is the peninsula, is basically like kind of like a scene that's like in the middle of nowhere. There's some abandoned things here. There's an abandoned house right there. And there's an abandoned spur that used to have a little platform for deliveries and things, and it is no longer. I love this scene here. It's got the deep valleys and the rock face and stuff like that, and the bridges. And then my lumber facility is actually here, so that'll be my next video. It's this whole section here. So there's a little stream that comes through, and there's a lumber house and a wood chip loader there, and some made up stuff like, a stack with smoke for no reason at all, because whatever, I liked it there. And there's a building that has absolutely no purpose there because I liked it there. So yeah, that's how I've been designing my layout. Some realistic things, some very unrealistic things, but whatever. It is what it is. Anyways, so I'll leave you there. I have my control panel here, which I'm very excited about. I like using that a lot. But that'll be another video later on. All right, I'll see you soon, guys.